The saddle is probably the most difficult contact point to get right on a bicycle. Sitting hours on end can have a tremendous impact on feeling comfortable. A wrong choice can result in such discomfort that it can make you want to stop cycling altogether quickly. Saddles, also called seats, come in an incredible variety of shapes and sizes for different styles of cycling. In this review, I'm concentrating on my experience with bikepacking and bicycle touring, which is a combination of commuting, road cycling, gravel and basic off-road cycling. The saddle for me in the first place has to be comfortable and stay as comfortable as possible throughout a day of cycling. I've ridden bikes as long as I can remember, which for me is quite natural being from the Netherlands. I've tried nearly all seat styles on various types of bikes. For my bicycle touring and bikepacking adventures, I have found the eye-catching Infinity seat to provide me with the best overall experience, with comfort being the main criteria. It may look like a gimmick, but I assure you it's a well thought out design. I think an important thing to note is that I never wear cycling pants with padding. So let's talk about the design of this saddle. It's different than all the other saddles on the market because of this big cutout here in the middle. Your sit bones are supposed to fall through and you're actually sitting on your sitting flesh surrounding your sit bones. Normally with a saddle you're sitting directly on the sit bones and there is maybe a gel or some foam, but you can imagine the pressure from your torso coming down on these two small points. It's just a really small area for all that pressure to go into the saddle. Because you're now sitting on that larger area of flesh surrounding your sit bones, there's just more area to take all the pressure from up above. The design is also fairly simple with a sweeping curve here to hug your buttocks, rails underneath, and then of course the eye-catching cutout here in the middle. On the Infinity Seat website they offer different versions. In my case I have the E2 model, which is the one with the big cutout in the middle. And what I think is another really interesting option is the E1X version, where the cutout is filled in with a fabric material, creating a kind of a hammock. What I understand from the website is that this version is a little bit more geared towards an upright riding position. The quality of this saddle seems to be excellent. It's handmade in the USA and they're using high-end materials. Let me talk you through it from top to bottom so you have an understanding of how this saddle is assembled. On top here there is this beautiful Italian leather. In this case it's a black one, but you have different colors available on the website. It's stitched really nicely, you can really see there is an eye for detail and craftsmanship. Underneath the leather there's this thin layer of memory foam. It's not very thick, but it really doesn't have to be because of the concept, the design of the saddle. It's there to protect you from the layer that's underneath the memory foam, which is a really durable plastic layer that gives shape to the saddle. It has the curve, it has the cutout, and everything is kind of built around this plastic layer. And then underneath there's this, in this case, a stainless steel rails, but I also believe that it's possible to get it in a carbon version to make it even lighter. What I think is good about this saddle, out of the box it's really comfortable for me. And that's like a big difference from the saddle I used previously, which is the Brooks B17. That's kind of a full leather saddle that needs a break-in period of around 500 kilometers to be comfortable. Because of the pressure, it creates this pocket where you can sit in. Actually, that's my next point here, is that with the Brooks 17, it was kind of difficult to find a good alternative position because I was always sliding back into that pocket. This saddle, however, because of the sit bone opening here, I'm able to rotate my sit bones, and that accommodates a better pelvic tilt for me, which I find really comfortable because I like to change positions, maybe to stretch out my back a little bit or hunker down in a headwind, for example. I think it's great that this saddle has that built-in for me. What's also really nice is that this saddle is really lightweight at about 250 grams. And that compared to my old saddle, the Brooks B17, which was more than twice as heavy at about 580 grams. I've had some interactions with Infinity Seat about this saddle, and I have to say the interactions were really pleasant. It's a small team over there and you can really feel that they're dedicated and stand by their product. What I think is not so good about this saddle. First of all, let's talk about the price because it is steep. Because it's made in the USA with high quality materials and it's not mass produced, it's understandable that the price is high. For me, it was really hard to justify buying such a saddle just to try it out. Actually, I got really lucky, and that's maybe a tip for you here. I found it on the second-hand market. I put out a search, and after a long wait, I was really lucky to get this saddle at about 1/6 of the original selling price. So maybe, hopefully, that's a tip if you're tight on a budget for you to get your hands on a saddle like this. I have to say that now with my deep experience with this saddle, if I ever need to replace it, I will save up for it and get a new one. Another thing on my mind is the durability of this saddle. While it seems to be really well made for my bikepacking and bicycle touring adventures, I'm taking my bike out in new elements 24/7. Rain, sun, freezing temperatures, you name it. All things combined, it just takes a big toll on your gear. My bike fell over a couple of times and the leather has some scuff marks. And also here in the back, the stitching has come loose somewhat. It's still holding up pretty well, but if you're going on an adventure, let's say a year or more, I'm not sure this saddle will hold up that well over that prolonged period out in the elements. And the last thing here, because of the distinct design of this saddle, it can look out of place if you have a specific build where the aesthetics are really important, then this saddle is perhaps not for you. To sum it all up, the Infinity Seat E2 has been a great experience after having used it on multiple long tours. While using the Brooks B17, a major issue was the pressure on the perineum and the sit bones building up after a long day in the saddle. It also kept me sort of locked into a single spot, preventing me from easily changing my posture because of the sliding back into the pocket. I think that no saddle can be 100% comfortable all of the time. Currently, for me, the Infinity Seat comes closest. After a particularly long day in the saddle, I experienced some contact soreness. But being spread out over a wider area, it's less painful than directly on the sit bones. The price is steep, but it could be well worth it if you're struggling to find a saddle that keeps you comfortable. I hope you got some valuable insights out of this video, and I'm interested to know if this saddle might be something for you or it's just a little bit too far out there. Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And check out the video up here where I go deeper into what it takes to get comfortable on a touring bicycle.